guys, it's Hannah from the Between Lewis and Lovecraft podcast, and I always seem to tell people that I'm not a fan of scary movies or TV shows, but I'm starting to think that's a lie because I recently saw the trailer for the new HBO series Lovecraft Country, which comes out later this summer, and I was intrigued enough to read the book it's based on. It is a page turner and you should absolutely read it even if you don't consider yourself a fan of the horror genre. You may assume, based on the name of our podcast, that I'm a huge H.P. Lovecraft fan. Spoiler alert, I'm not. In fact, I'm not sure I'd ever even read any of his works before Tyler and I recorded our episodes on him. It's not necessarily that I actively dislike Lovecraft's writing. He's got some good, creepy stories. There's a reason he's as famous as he is, and that his work has endured for as long as it has and influenced so many other sci-fi and fantasy writers. But I just tend to prefer contemporary writing with faster-paced plots. That's just my personal preference. So, enter Lovecraft Country, which absolutely blew me away. The plot follows Army veteran Atticus Turner, who is a black man living in 1950s America. At the start of the story, his father has gone missing, so Atticus takes off on a road trip to New England to find him. And he goes with his childhood friend Letitia, as well as his uncle George, who is the publisher of the Safe Negro Travel Guide. So if you've seen the movie Green Book, it's sort of like that. It's a book geared toward African Americans who might be road tripping or traveling, and it highlights accommodations and services that will probably be friendly toward them. On their journey, they encounter real monsters such as racist police officers and other products of segregated America, as well as fantastical beasts that seem to have been ripped right from the pages of the novels that Atticus loves so much. When they eventually find Atticus's father, they also discover a complicated family legacy and a secret cabal led by the Braithwaite family. The novel is split into 8 shorter stories, usually focusing on one character and a particular challenge that person is faced with. So the first part follows Atticus on his journey to find his father, the second part follows Letitia when she moves into a haunted house, and so on. Within those long chapters, there are these sort of mini stories within the story, illustrating the horrors of racism and Jim Crow era America. Overall, this is just a really interesting blend of historical fiction, sci-fi, and fantasy that I think sets Lovecraft Country apart from other books in the horror genre. There's nothing that I could really compare it to. The book also addresses the complicated relationship between loving art and hating the artist. So most of the characters have a deep love for literature or other fields that have been traditionally dominated by white people in America. The characters each relate to this problem differently. Atticus's father, on the one hand, seems determined to ruin all of his son's favorite authors by pointing out how racist they were. Uncle George at one point tells his nephew, though, that stories are like people, loving them doesn't make them perfect, and sometimes they stab me in the heart. So I think it's really interesting that the novel tackles not just like the huge social issues like Jim Crow, but it also tackles those smaller issues like how we relate to art that we know was created by bad people. So the whole reason I found out about this book was because I saw the trailer on YouTube. Even before Jordan Peele's name popped up on the screen, I had a feeling he was involved with the project. Here's a snippet of the trailer.
My father, he wrote me. Said we have a secret legacy, a birthright that's been kept from us in Lovecraft Country.
That place, it's not real.
You sure?
They don't like outsiders at all. I found more than a few stories about travelers being attacked in the surrounding woods.
By what?
Interestingly, Matt Ruff envisioned Lovecraft Country as a TV show first. He wanted to have a recurring cast of characters, and each week they would have a different set of paranormal adventures. In a little Q&A at the end of the book, he also said that at the time he had been reading Sundown Towns by James W. Lowens, and through that he had learned about the Negro Motorist Green Book, which, as I mentioned before, was a guidebook to services and accommodations that would be relatively friendly to African American travelers. So that's how Ruff came up with the main character's job, which plays a big role in the plot of the story. So there are a few things that I suspect will be different from the book based on seeing the trailer and reading a couple of articles about the series. Number 1, the overall structure. So according to a couple articles I saw, there will be 10 hour-long episodes. As I mentioned before, the book is split up into 8 sections plus a brief epilogue. The titles of the episodes that I saw in one article also did not match the titles of the chapters in the book. So it'll be interesting to see if the plot follows a different timeline or combines the short stories in another way. You can see snippets of some of the chapters in the trailer though, like the elevator and the little planetary device that book readers will recognize as belonging to the Winthrop house. Number 2, I think there are going to be more flashbacks to Atticus's childhood. And the only reason I think that is because IMDb lists 2 actors, one as young Atticus and one as teen Atticus, and has those actors appearing in multiple episodes. So if that's true, that would indicate that there will be a lot of flashbacks involving Atticus, which we did not have in the books. Number 3, more flashbacks to Atticus's time in the war. You see some snippets of Atticus in uniform in the trailer, and according to HBO, there's also a whole new character named Gia, who is described as, quote, a seemingly naive nursing student who is thrust into active service when war breaks out, and a rash of soldier disappearances suggests she is more than what she seems. So it'll be interesting to see how that plays out. And number 4, the biggest change is that HBO appears to have done away with the character of Caleb Braithwaite and instead made him Christina Braithwaite. It looks like she still has the same beef with her dad and the need to prove herself, but I'm not sure why the TV folks decided to make Caleb a girl. Maybe they wanted to add sexism to the bevy of social issues that the series will involve. Making Caleb Christina may not change a whole lot about the events of the story, but it'll definitely make Ruby's storyline more interesting if the writers choose to keep her original plot line. That's something that book readers will understand. I don't want to give too many spoilers away. So there you have it. There are my thoughts on both the novel Lovecraft Country and what we might be able to expect from the TV series, regardless of any plot differences. I'm still really looking forward to watching it. I love Jordan Peele's movies. It'll be really interesting to see what he does with this story as well. If you have any thoughts, feel free to drop them in the comments. And as always, you can find us on all the social media platforms and tune into our regular podcast episodes out every other Monday. Bye.